Hi, welcome back to another episode of SEO On-Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we have Cody Jensen, CEO and founder of Searchbloom. We talk about how he started his business, the leadership qualities you need to sustain a company, and the impact of AI on marketing. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if Google was your first step, how did you kind of get to the second step? I think that was boostability.
Well, that was one of them. I actually went and worked for a very small custom development company in their business development department. The company was called Q90. I think it was acquired years ago, but they had a group of really phenomenal engineers, and they built a software for hospice businesses. And it was called Hospice Soft, and that was acquired. Um, I sold software to hospice facilities, and golly, talk about getting told no, because they were like the new kids on the block, and there had been huge ERP systems for hospice for eons before this new kid on the block came around, and that I think that's what got me interested in coding. Um, and that's actually where I built my first website, was way back, golly, that's been 15, 16 years ago. Shout out to Kyle Carney. Working among you, alongside you, was really quite a pleasure in my life, and a great learning experience.
I'm kind of also wondering, back when you were developing websites, or at least working with them back in the day, how much has changed over the years?
Oh my. Well, everything. Everything has changed, while some things have remained constant. For example, WordPress is still alive. My first website built 15, 16 years ago was built in WordPress. I made the mistake of getting .NET hosting and then tried to install WordPress on it. Just, that's how I learn, right? Mistakes. But then I got, of course, the appropriate server, and uploaded WordPress. I did it the old school way. WP Engine, it might have existed, but I wasn't aware of it, right? So those one-click buttons to upload WordPress and do all this stuff, the fancy dancy way, just didn't. I wasn't aware of it, so I did it the old school way, and yeah, that's where I kind of got infatuated with building websites, and I got infatuated with analytics. Google offers also. Um, I got a little bit infatuated with analytics, but mostly working with entrepreneurs, working with businesses. Um, those two kind of go hand in hand.
And from there, how did Searchbloom kind of initiate? Like, how long was that gap between?
Yeah. So after Q90, I went and worked for a company called Boostability. I worked on the sales floor. Um, I was initially hired to be in their business development department, but they said, "Hey, you need to, cut your teeth on sales." And I did. I proved myself, and I sold SEO at Boostability. Um, I wouldn't say I was like the leading salesperson on that floor. I think at the time there was maybe 20 of us, but I was probably middle upper of the pack. Um, I wasn't getting fed the best leads, but I think my closing rate was really quite good. And then over time, I made my way up to the big office there in Lehigh, and started to work with other folks that like Kelly Shelton. Shout out to Kelly, such a terrific manager, such a terrific man. Was able to learn a lot from him, like patience and management skills. And yeah, I mean, then from there, funny story, I I was so green and so ignorant. Part of my job in developing business is reaching out to, bigger companies that would maybe resell Boostability. Most of most of their services are white labeled, right?
Right.
And I called up Rand Fishkin out of the blue, and I wanted to resell. I wanted him to put boostability on like one of their top SEO lists, because at that point they had one.
Right.
And bless his heart, he took my call. He said no, but he took my call, and that meant a lot to me. I learned from him in that moment about giving back, and um, sometimes if you have the time, you can take a cold call, because you might be able to help that one person, and by
Right.
helping that one person, you might be able to make an influence on dozens. And he did that for me, hundreds, in fact, at this point, having
Yeah.
Searchbloom.
Have you had conversations with Rand ever since?
Just yesterday, I listened to one of his podcasts with Tim over at Ahrefs, and I told him just how much I appreciated his thoughts on attribution, and it was a great pod put on by Tim Solo, and Rand. Just he's one of those that will blow your mind each and every time you listen to him. Um, I'm not talking about the Whiteboard Fridays; those were fantastic in their day, but now Rand over at Spark Toro doing things that are just they've not been done before. Um, he's just an incredible, what I refer to as an invisible mentor, because while I don't speak with Rand every day or every week or whenever, but I follow him, and I learn from him, and he doesn't maybe even know about it until I say, "Hey, man, I really dug that podcast. Thanks for letting me learn from you."
When you were starting it off, did you know? I mean, I'm pretty sure there would have been a few hiccups along the way, but are there any like a couple of ones that kind of stood out and taught you a few lessons as well?
Yeah. Well, when I was selling at Boostability, I started to learn, and I got promoted to business development, and I started to work alongside a lot of what they referred to as the fulfillment teams, and I learned
Right.
how they did SEO, and then I couldn't sell it anymore because I didn't believe in it. So I went over to another company, 180 Fusion, and worked under whom I feel is a terrific CEO, Scott Cohen. I was his direct report. He was the CEO at the time, and I thought that, what, hey, this is a agency that does it all, and I'm going to be able to learn a lot, and I know I can sell. My charge was to build our white label solution for agencies, and I think I built a book of maybe 50,000 per month in MRR. But again, I learned how fulfillment was happening, and it was better than the previous company, but it was still like the the sales team would sell something for, let's say, $1,000 per month, and the costs that go into that $1,000 a month, there are the soft costs, which is like your head count and your overhead and payroll and taxes and all that stuff.
Right.
And then there's the hard costs. And what I learned what the hard costs were a were it was a company out of India, and nothing against India. It's just they probably spent on $1,000. They probably spent 50 to 75, maybe $150 maximum. So
Probably.
it was just very, very low, maybe high margins from a business point of view. They probably made a decent amount of money, but golly, the product was poor. And at that point, I learned, I can't sell this. I can't put my name on this. So that's when the idea of, hey, you can do this. There's got to be a better way. Okay, that's when it started sprouting in my head. The name wasn't there. I didn't know what it was going to be called. But over the next 6 months or so, because I think I might have been there for 2 years, but over the last 6 months, I started moonlighting. Um, and at one point, the name came to me. and crazy, it wasn't taken at that time. The searchbloom.com was available. I still have the spreadsheet of all the names that I was looking at, and it wasn't taken. So I registered it with GoDaddy. It cost me $13 or $12 back then, and yeah, that's how Searchbloom got started. I started when I left 180 Fusion to start Searchbloom. 180 Fusion was not very happy because I was under a non-compete and a non-circumvent. And back then, before the rules changed, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago now, those were enforceable. So I was sued. Um,
Okay.
and having to navigate that was quite difficult. I learned a lot about I learned a lot about that. I didn't steal clients, but when they learned that I was leaving, they wanted to come with me, right? And
Right.
so yeah, we settled, and that was a big check that I had to write. That really I didn't have the money to write, so I had to pay it off over I think over 2 years.
Something that has been actually going quite ahead of time is the developments in AI.
Mm-hmm.
I know we can probably talk for a long time about it, but I'm kind of curious, when it did kind of start off last year with ChatGPT, did you feel any kind of threat towards our industry that way? How it might kind of just disrupt everything?
When it first came out, I just started messing around with it, right? I started using Chat GPT, and after using it for maybe, I don't know, 3 days, I learned, oh no, this is no threat whatsoever. Things have evolved since then. I still don't think it's a threat to, even with what was announced yesterday, Google I/O and SGE rolling out, I think a new name, AI Overview. Um, I see no threats for SEO.
More as opportunities instead.
Yeah, I think one of my business partners, he was chatting me up last night on Slack, and he's like, "What's the point of having a blog if Google's just going to summarize that blog and put it up on SGE?" And I'm like, I'll explain why there's a point, but Uh, the big side of that is that Google does give credit where it pulls that information from, which I think is important for Google to do, because they got that information from somewhere, and AI enhanced it or maybe altered it in some ways. But based on, I mean, I've been in the SGE experiments since it came out, and boy, a lot of those quick responses are really quite wrong. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a
It kind
long
of
way to
comes
go.
with AI, though, right?
Yeah, it
The
does.
hallucinations. Right.
Yeah.
One question that I do have, and it's kind of regarding SGE and just Google's updates in general, and it might be a very SEO specific topic. But if people are, let's say, trying to put out content and trying to reach that stage where if you search for a particular keyword, your website or whatever your content is will pop up. But Google is now using these AI tools to kind of just summarize, like you said. How does one now get to that spot where Google is picking you to summarize from?
Well, I think that you need to follow Google's guidelines, and create helpful content. Gone are the days of using AI, even the most sophisticated of AI, like Surfer has an AI, built like writer. It's an AI writer. You can't just use that and expect to rank. You have to have your personal take on it. Eat is the way in which a big way. It's a big way in which Google um, it incorporates into its algorithm, right? And it's important that you have your own expertise in the subject, right? For example, I'm writing a post right now on Searchbloom's website, and I asked Surfer AI to write this post. And from a keyword optimization point of view, it hit the nail on the head, right? But the AI has no experience in using headless, right? So I have to go in and add my first world experience saying, hey, I really like Shogun for Shopify. I really like this for this type of CMS. I love Sanity. And these are some things that the AI can't do that because it's not a person, right? It doesn't have experience in using these types of solutions, you know?
I think one of the things that I've heard most of the time on this podcast is that whenever it comes to AI, it's a great tool, but it is just that. It is just a tool. The rest of the power comes from the actual person. So
Yeah.
if you're not actually vetting your content, or at least using your own brain power for the AI tools, it's not really going to do much damage or have that much threat.
Yeah. Human beings, I'll tell you, as smart as and as quick as AI is, Google wants content written for humans by humans. And even they've changed their stance on it over time as they've incorporated AI into their results. But ultimately, what they want is valuable information, valuable content, right? Useful. And I think in order to do that, you have to demonstrate expertise and authoritativeness and experience. These types of things are critical in order to rank for a given keyword or even have an opportunity to show up in an AI overview. You have to have first world experience, which I think makes the SERPs better.
I was actually going to add that when AI did come out, it kind of leveled the playing field in a way where everyone now could write good SEO content. But what made your content better than other people's content was the value that you were adding, the experience that you actually had. So
Right.
I'm kind of happy that we're at least on the same page on this as well. Do you think there's anything in plan for Searchbloom to kind of incorporate these AI tools into your own system as well, or to develop your own AI tool?
Well, I'm a big believer in systems, right? Systemology is a book that by David Janes. I'm a big believer in those principles, and where I can make the company as efficient as I can is where I tend to gravitate or spend a lot of my time on. These AI tools we have been incorporating since they came out. I'm talking in the days of Jasper and the days of obviously Chat GPT. Anything that can help us create content that is useful, we are going to leverage them. But there is an inflection point where it's just going to spit out all this incorrect information that is unuseful and unhelpful and repetitive, and it almost is, it takes you longer. So what we use personally at Searchbloom AI to do is to help us with briefs and outlines and things like that, and that has really helped with efficiency. When we and all people come across this at one point or another, especially Searchbloom, we're what some folks might call generalists, meaning we don't niche down into one vertical only, right? We service a lot of different e-commerce businesses in a lot of different verticals, and we have to really learn what it is that makes them different. We interview our partners. We call them partners at Searchbloom, and we want to know what makes them better, what's their USPs, their PVPs. We want to know about their products, and that's how we go about it. While AI can help give us a synopsis of this product or that, um, it you have to kind of have that first world experience, and generally speaking, you got to speak with like a rep of that brand or that product or that service, so that you hear it directly from them. And we record all those calls, and then we use AI to put together a bit of a synopsis on that,
Right.
some bullet points, things like that. So I think AI it's
It's a great assistant.
it's an assistant, right? And I don't even know if I would even call it AI just yet. It's getting closer with GPT 4.0, but it's still not AI. It's LLM really, and it's
Right.
stacked LLMs, from my understanding, my limited understandings.
Yeah, I mean, you sound humble when you say that. I feel like that's a pretty much accurate description of it. I feel like if you did ask, let's say, a person, hey, what do you think is the best methodology for this? And if that person is an experienced person, they can probably tell it to you. But right now, AI is that kind of person who's like, 1 second, let me get that information back. It'll do its little bit of research and it'll give you probably a half-baked answer. And that's not really intelligence. It's kind of like copy pasting, but getting it kind of wrong as well. So
Yeah,
I
I
think you're
mean,
hitting it on the nose.
it's taking what it's learned up to the point that it's learned from the internet, which, as we know, the internet evolves very quickly. Technology, just in the last 4 days, has evolved dramatically, right? With these two major announcements from OpenAI and Google, um, you just can't take it from other people, and I feel that is morally wrong, um, because that's someone else's work. But I also feel that by leveraging a system like that and then calling it your own because the words are a little bit different, because AI wrote it, is still, it's not going to get you anywhere. Even if you throw morals aside, you're not going to get any results from it.
One question then. If, let's say, I try to start an entire brand with a website and along with some services, but I heavily relied on just AI, do you think that's a possible thing to be done? And two, would you advise it to other people?
It's possible as an assistant to help you come up with, like, the name of your business. It's possible to help you come up with maybe some unique propositions, that maybe the problems your business solves. Um, but and it's also helpful if you're using CodePilot and you're not an experienced coder. It could be helpful in developing a website. I think there are softwares now with Wix where it can build you a website just purely using AI. Um, I do not recommend that because, generally speaking, it's going to output what it's learned from 3 years ago on the internet. So it's regurgitating what already exists. So instead, you might leverage it a little bit, but put it in your own words. Make it your own, because otherwise it's not going to do you much good.
I kind of asked that because I tried to do this little experiment by myself last year where I did everything just using AI when it came to the blog content, creating the website, pushing it on social as well. And I
Mhm.
think in the first month, it did supremely well. It was ranking for a bunch of keywords as well. And then
Mhm.
a crazy, insane, sharp drop because it just wasn't, let's say, as valuable as it could be had I had written my own experiences. I was
Right.
just writing, hey, ChatGPT, put out this article, and it would just write. I mean, now that I look back on it, it just wrote garbage articles in general, but it had all the keywords, it had all the things to rank and make it go up. But yeah, I just want to confirm that it's not a good idea to just completely depend on AI.
Well, you're exactly right. And I follow a lot of SEOs, and I learn a lot from many of them. Some I learn what to do, some I learn what not to do. Right. Um, and over the years, I still see people saying, "Hey, this whole website is 100% AI, and look at the traffic." Right. It's just onwards and upwards. Right. But it's frankly, it's just a matter of time before it kind of goes away. Um, and it
Yeah.
just, that increase in traffic drops to zero.
And then you're just wondering, wait, what did I do wrong? And it's like you didn't do anything to start with. You kind of depended on something else to do it.
Right.
To kind of go back into, let's say, the other topics itself, Searchbloom AI tools, what is in store for just the future of those two? Do you think at some point you might start developing your own tools?
As of right now, it is not on our roadmap, for a lot of the aforementioned reasons. Um, but who knows? One of the things that I always say is never say never, um, because it's always possible, and I'm always looking for opportunities for efficiency, and that is one way in which AI has really helped, me personally, and also Searchbloom, is the efficiency of AI, but you can't take the short. It can't be your one and only go-to, right? So I don't know. I don't know at this time.
Right. So if I was, let's say, one of the common clients that you normally get, do you mind walk me through what the onboarding process would look like?
Yeah, if you were in our ICP, then you would get a proposal and roadmap. We generally spend, about 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, depending on the size of the website, putting together a free action plan for qualified um, prospects.
Would it take
And
less time if you used AI?
no, as of right now, no. It's extremely bespoke, and it takes human thinking. It takes
Right.
human experience. Um, and as of right now, no, AI couldn't do that. But
Yeah.
as far as the onboarding process goes, we would put that together. We would review it with the prospect. The only way in which we would offer a proposal and roadmap is if we know that we can win. We know that we can generate a return on investment. If they're looking at the proposal and they see that, we'll have an appendix, which is usually and it's called an appendix initial opportunity analysis, right? And that part of it is usually 20 pages, 30 pages, where we show exactly like screenshots of, hey, here's what's wrong, here's what we need to do, here's what's wrong, here's what we need to do, right? With regards to SEO or Google Ads. If we have access to the account, we do the same thing, right? Um, we review that with the prospect on the phone, then we provide it to them after the phone call. We obviously tell them our pricing, our recommendation in terms of budget, and then we let them take it to the powers that be. If they are the powers that be, then they make a decision. And onboarding typically takes, we can schedule an onboarding call within about a week's time. That gives us enough time to brief the analyst, because we don't have account managers at SearchBloom. It goes directly to your SEO or your PPC analyst, and you get to work directly with them as a partner of SearchBloom.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, we provide them with an onboarding questionnaire, which some of them don't like to do, which is a telltale sign that they're not going to work out at SearchBloom. Meaning,
I was actually going to
you
ask, are there more telltale signs?
well, I'll be candid. If they're aggressive on the phone, um, if they have outlandish goals, if they really don't understand that this type of work, whether it's Google Ads or SEO, if they don't understand that it takes time and they want results yesterday, it's not going to work. So we typically we tell them, no, this is not a good fit. Um, we probably at SearchBloom, let's say we get 100 leads every single month. 97% of those, 97 of them, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. They have unrealistic expectations, or they don't have the budget, or there's other reasons too. Like if they're rude, they don't get to work with us, because we have a line out the door of people who want to work with us, and we have finite resources, meaning we're in the business of service, which takes people, and we only have so many people. And I'm a firm believer that bigger is not always better. I've learned the hard way in that respect as well. So um, I'd rather put my people on accounts where I know we can win, where I know we're working with great individuals, great human beings that offer a unique product that is just maybe not uh, not as visible in search engines, whether that be in paid or organic, right?
I'm kind of happy you do say that and stick by it, because I've seen a lot of people who kind of look at it as a numbers game. They don't mind taking in the rude client as long as the moolah is much better. But I like people who actually put their foot down and be like, hey, I'm going to protect my piece and my people from clients like you, and make sure I can always get the right ones instead.
Yeah,
Looking out for both people.
we don't have a sales team here. The sales team is me and the other owner of the business, Jordan. Shout out to Jordan Connor. We do not we don't have a sales team because we don't want to bring in those low-level deals. We don't want to have churn. Our churn rate is extremely low. Our attrition rate is extremely low as a result of us doing our due diligence on the front end. I just don't believe in churn and burn. I worked at agencies that did, and I don't like it. It's not, morally, it doesn't align with my core values.
Yeah, and it's only just churn and burn products or services. It's you're churning and burning yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You do kind of take up a lot of these projects, and then you're wondering, my team can't handle them.
Yeah.
So again, I'm glad you kind of take that outlook and break the two and take those times.
Yeah, we track our time here. We ask our team to track it accurately so that we get a good idea of what our actual capacity is. I don't care if they put in, let's say, 20 hours a week, as long as it's accurate. That just tells me, okay, this person might be inefficient in one area, or they might need more work, right? One or the other, as long as it's tracked accurately,
So if you had 2 minutes to kind of give an elevator pitch for our viewers and listeners, this would be your 2 minutes.
Basically, what sets Searchbloom apart? Is that the question?
It's basically it's actually whatever you want it to be. It's a
Okay.
2-minute plug for you to kind of sell yourself.
Look us up, number one. That sells us quite more than I could do. But there are two types of agencies in my mind. There are product agencies, and there are bespoke or custom agencies. We're a bespoke custom agency, but we have adopted systemology or systems and have procedure in place that make us a hybrid of both, right? That we are heavily white glove service, where we have very high levels of net promoter score and high level of customer service. But we've been around we're in our 10th year of doing business as an SEO firm, which most businesses go under within the first year. Most SEO businesses don't work out even faster. But we've been in business for nearly 10 years. We have processes and systems that make our bespoke solutions much more efficient and effective. And we work in all types of industries, but we don't work with rude people. We can't work with everybody. We only work with those businesses where we know we can win. And yeah, I mean, I think maybe that would be probably my elevator pitch.
Where can people find you and Searchbloom?
Well, you can find me personally online, Cody C Jensen. C stands for Craig. That's my middle name. That's my dad as well. You can find me just by searching that. You can find me by searching CEO of Searchbloom or Founder of Searchbloom. But most importantly, just go to searchbloom.com. Search like you're searching for something. Bloom like a flower blooms.com, one word. And all over social, of course, too.
I want to give a big thank you, Cody. It's been really great, this entire conversation. I think even though I've been doing this for quite a long time, I'm still learning a lot, and I'm glad that you could put into bite-sized information to make things easier for me to learn. So again, thank you so much for doing this with us.
My pleasure. Absolutely, Aaron.
Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.